Hello and welcome to another wonderful episode of Iron Port. This program is proudly brought to you by Sirius Insurance, Gual PLC, the Ghana Revenue Authority, Ghana Link, Meridian Port Services Limited, and Phoenix Insurance. Our proud media partner is the Business and Financial Times. This program is powered by the Ghana Ports and Harbours Authority. Now, as part of the recently celebrated International Women's Day, Iron Port decided to celebrate some women who are driving change in the maritime industry. The following discussion has more.
During your time, people were actually scared to venture into that arena. But from your time till now, how has it evolved?
There has been a lot of inclusivity in the maritime industry for women. Mm-hmm. And younger ladies have been recruited at the maritime institutions. There's a challenge for them to do better. And it's also because we are having more men going into the sciences as well, and technical vocations. We've also had women, now a lot of women, being mentors or role models for the younger students all over the country. Again, parents have come to the realization that their daughters could do any work that or go into any career that they have to go. And so there's this push for young ladies to excel. Again, we also have the social media that girls who have not even traveled outside the country can see, go into it and are able to assert themselves, be able to know that I can do this or this or that. There are so many other opportunities as well available to them, which initially during our time we were not even aware they existed, even though they were. Mm-hmm. There have also been a lot of affirmative actions that have been taken and policies that have also encouraged younger women, not only in the maritime industry, but in almost all the fields in the job areas that we have, be it CEOs, be it owning their companies, be it even designers and all those ones. Now people really want, like having our first vice president as a woman, even being a woman in Ghana. It couldn't have been, nobody could think of it even about yesterday. Yeah. But here we are, today and tomorrow we are all going to say we've had So we have all these activities. That is what has actually brought up the increase in awareness for young ladies to venture into male nomination jobs. Again, most of the young ladies have also, I always say, have parents or relationships who are enlightened and therefore support them.
What were some of the barriers, the challenges that you faced?
I said, on the ship, like I said initially, I went to the ship more as a continuation of school. So I had this student attitude, fair attitude as a student on the ship. My colleagues, difficult when it came to the work itself, like navigation, it wasn't difficult for you. When it came to anything that was theory, it wasn't difficult for you. The only challenges probably that you had was when it was manual, real manual jobs that you had to do. And even then, you had mechanical ways of doing it. Being scientific, having a scientific approach to the work you are doing, you should be able to, it gets it done. Again, challenges that you may have is isolation, not from the boys or from your colleagues. As for your colleagues, you have the same relationship. They are also isolated from their family, but you may have isolation. You may sometimes have emotional isolation that, I've left things home. Where's my mom? And when you were younger, the only, again, like I said, the environment was a confined environment. Your classroom is a ship, and the environment was the sea, where you couldn't go out and jump into the sea and come back like you do ashore. However, there were opportunities on board the ship where you had entertainment, you had, you could create activities to forestall the isolation. If it was your birthday, you could say it's my birthday and everybody will support you. There will be something done for you. So we had a social life, especially on the training ship. The training ship, those things to be frank, were taken care of. Physical, real challenges, having a male colleague molesting or assaulting you never happened. I've always said that, whether it was, never happened. Never ever happened. And that one, I always go back to it. I think it was our attitude, it was our approach to things. So, and I wasn't even looking out for being intimidated. So it never happened. So and sometimes people ask me, so many people ask me that question. And I haven't had intimidation actually in real life on the ship or anything comes about not when you are a junior, but when you get to the top. As you get, to the top, like all hierarchies, when you get to the getting closer to the top, then you will get people, being able. Then that's when the gender issue and other things come in, and they think that why should a woman or a lady take that job? But even then, what you should do is you should be competent. That is it, be able to be competent. And when I say competent, I mean knowledge and skill. You should be very competent. You should be able, you don't have to force yourself, but you should be smarter than your male colleagues. You should be smarter than your male colleagues. And you should accept yourself not being rude. No, never rude. Have this network effect with them, fine, smile and everything, but know their limits. When you have that, you'll be able to. And most again, when you are juniors in any field, whether shape or anything, you see that your male colleagues even encourage and urge you, to excel. When you are in the same profession with male, so at the lower level, almost all of you, look at you being in the university, they will help you with your studies. Come and let's go and study, let's do our prep together. They will all encourage you. It's only the competition comes in, the challenges of the competition comes in only when you get to the top. And that is probably some of the challenges that you can have.
I mean, you put it, the nail right there. Even though we are happy that the women representation in, maritime industry has increased, and the women do not fear anymore to get into those domains, we definitely feel that we could do more, even better. If you look at other areas, in Parliament, we have women, but we're saying that we need more women in leadership positions. What really is the barrier in terms of male inclusion? All of this, what has been the barrier so that women are so scared to get into some of these areas, especially those that we call male-dominated?
Thank you for that. BIMCO did a survey in 2021, and it was realized that the challenges has to do with technical rules. So for instance, when you take vessels of seagoing, you have about 74,000 vessels with 1.89 million seafarers. Out of that, you have only 1.2% who are females. And these females are not even on the tankers and the dry bulks, they're on passenger ships. But a passenger ship is like a flotel, right? So there's a lot of job for stewards, cooks, and others, customer service, and others. So we realize that the challenge has to do with the technical rules and the harsh environments. Being at sea is a harsh environment. Madam Georgina said it's between you, the ship and the sea, right? And so how do you combine family, for instance, with work? and be away so long, because once you're on board a vessel, you're away from your children, you're away from your husband or your relations. So how are you going to blend that, especially when you start having kids and they are young? So that has been some of the challenges. You also have how culturally, even in the house, you realize that when you have male children and females, you call them women to come and do the dishes, whilst the guys are in the room studying or researching and doing other things, playing games, you know. So culturally, we have all contributed to the problem. And so you realize that at that age, the men tend to study more, have more time to themselves. And so the women shy away from the sciences and then the STEM subjects. So then that becomes a barrier, because most of these jobs we're talking about, if you want to do in marine engineering, naval architecture, and all these things, you need the science and the mathematics background, which then is not there. There's also been that most women are not at the top. So who are the role models to look up to? When you're growing up, you want to look up to people around you and be like them. So if you have teachers around, you also want to be a teacher. I love being a teacher. It's one of my professions, being a lecturer. But you usually would want to look up to people around you and you want to be like them. So the lesser women we have at the top, the less role models we have for younger women to aspire to be. And then the biases. So Madam Georgina mentioned, for instance, when you enter the lecture room to go and lecture and you enter the nautical science department or the marine engineering department, sometimes you are disheartening, only one woman is there. This time I have about 6 in my class, and I was so excited, you know, that, oh, this time I have 6 women in my class, and that was very interesting for me. But usually you have 1 or 2, and you have the men making fun of them. When I was country manager for oil and gas companies, you have people see Gertrude, but they write, "Dear Mr. Gertrude," you know, that thing. Or you enter the meeting room and they ask you, "Are you the secretary to the CEO?" Because they feel that should be your role. You can't be at the top. You can't be the head of the company. So some of these stereotypes, uncommon and unintentional biases, and cultural, sometimes you want to venture into something and your parents or other people around you will even discourage you that this is a male-dominated area, you are a female, what are you going to do there? If you go there, how are you going to get pregnant? What are you going to do? We need grandchildren, this and that. These are all things that are a setback for women. And so we need to push to get some of these things out of the way. Funding is a challenge for younger people who want to go to school. Most of our universities, public universities, don't pay fees. When it comes to the maritime universities, people have to pay their fees and pay it in dollars. To train one cadet to be able to go on board a vessel is a huge sum of money. And so we need to look at funding issues. So, and even training in professional courses in shipping is very expensive. For instance, if you take the Institute of Chartered Shipbrokers courses, it's in pounds. To be able to finish writing your 7 subjects, to qualify to be a member, you would have spent a lot of money. So we need more scholarships. So for instance, with WISTA, we have a scholarship scheme with ICS, where every year they give 5 students, 5 people from the world, scholarships to study with a foundation diploma. For instance, WISTA again has signed an MOU with OTG. It's a capacity building firm, Ocean Technologies Worldwide, where they've offered 200 women free access to their online platform to train in so many subjects. I have even done anger management on that platform. And there are technical subjects there, there are soft skills there. So these are things that empower us.
Eye on Port returns after this break.
Good energy brings you quality choices with Goil Super XP. Available in many Goil stations nationwide. It is fortified with special additives that help your engine perform better and use less fuel. Branch into a Goil station today and energize your ride with Goil Super XP, compatible with most vehicles. Goil Super XP, Wufilia, huh? Wubefeel. Goyle, good energy. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Electricity, then pay your taxes. Yeah. Our taxes, our future.
Because you see, without our taxes, we wouldn't have good roads, good schools, better hospitals, street lights, and other very important social amenities. When we pay our taxes, we give our children free and quality education. Talga, my money too small. Why should I pay my tax? Look, small. Salifo, it doesn't matter how small or big your business or income is. You still have to pay your taxes. The little taxes from each and every one of us, when put together, could give your community clean water or that deprived school with tables and chairs. Please pay your taxes. It is your responsibility. It is your civic duty. It is the law.
MPS Terminal 3 is Africa's new state-of-the-art container terminal at Tema Port. For manufacturers, agro-processors and traders, the new port means business can be done faster. This infrastructure boost will improve Ghana's port handling capacity, connect more trading routes, and oil the engine of growth for the economy, creating greater opportunities across all sectors as Africa's markets merge and become the largest trading bloc globally. MPS, we connect, you thrive.
Business and life can be like the sea sometimes. Sometimes serene, sometimes calm, sometimes turbulent, and at times it brings the unexpected. However it is like, trust Phoenix Insurance for your home, car, business, and marine insurance needs. Call 0302-246-319 or 0243-690-492.
At Phoenix, you experience a delightful service delivered with wisdom.
Welcome back from the break. Now, some local news and activities happening within the ports and maritime industry next.
The Ghana Ports and Harbours Authority and the Ghana Shippers Authority have reaffirmed their commitment to collaborate in a bid to reduce the cost of doing business at Ghana's ports. This initiative aims to enhance the efficiency and attractiveness of the ports to both local and transit customers, ultimately fostering socio-economic growth in line with the government's economic reset agenda. This commitment was highlighted during a working visit by the Chief Executive Officer of the Ghana Shippers Authority, Professor Ransford Jampo, to the Ghana Ports and Harbours Authority to interact with the Director General of GPHA, Brigadier General Paul Seydou Tanya Kulono, and his management team on issues of mutual interest and strategic approaches to minimizing the cost of doing business at Ghana's ports. The engagement afforded the two heads the opportunity to deliberate on issues affecting the attractiveness of Ghana's ports and the huge role it plays in the nation's maritime industry. During the discussions, Professor Jampo emphasized the need for both institutions to identify operational bottlenecks and implement sustainable solutions to mitigate delays. He noted that seeming inefficiencies in the system often lead to additional costs for importers, which are ultimately transferred to consumers.
I went about visiting various stakeholders. One thing that was coming out there the cost of doing business that is so high.
In his response, the DG for GPHA, Brigadier General Tanya Kulono, reiterated his earlier call on the Transport Minister to assist in the elimination of VAT and COVID-19 taxes from transit goods, as well as certain taxes on transshipment goods. The GPHA DG reaffirmed his faith in the government's resolve to boost a 24-hour economy and said he was hopeful that such taxes would eventually be removed by the government to ensure the swift clearance of goods at the port to alleviate the financial burden on importers.
When the minister came, spoke that those things will be cancelled. So I think we should look at the interests of the country and then why are we even working? So that at the end of the day, we'll work together.
He called for frequent meetings by the two institutions on practical ways of making Ghana's ports attractive to support the government's 24-hour economy and job creation agenda. The collaboration between GPHA and GSA marks a significant step towards making Ghana's ports more competitive within the sub-region, supporting trade facilitation and contributing to national economic growth. The Ghana Ports and Harbours Authority remains committed to equipping its personnel with the knowledge and skills needed to navigate the dynamic landscape of international trade and port management. As part of this commitment, the authority continues to invest in the UNCTAD Trainfortrade program, a globally recognized capacity-building initiative aimed at preparing future port managers to tackle emerging challenges in the maritime industry with sustainable solutions. This year, 14 GPHA staff and 1 Ghana Shippers Authority staff have successfully completed the Module 2 out of the 8 training modules, building on the impressive number of employees of the authority to participate in the UNCTAD Trainfortrade program over the years. Speaking on behalf of the General Manager Administration during the opening ceremony of the week-long program, Deputy Human Resource Manager at GPHA, Solomon Sakite, said the authority places premium on continuous training in a bid to maintain an excellent succession culture.
The future of the ports lies in the hands of the people that are congregated here. Because in the next 10, 15 years to come, these are the people who will be the decision makers as to the strategic future movement of the port. The people you see behind you will not be in decision making. And it is important that management must demonstrate its commitment to strategically position people who are beneficiaries of this course so that they'll be able to contribute to the knowledge acquired in this program.
UNCTAD expert Fergus William Britton said the UNCTAD Trainfortrade program will position participants to fill in senior management roles where there is need.
It's extremely important. It allows the participants to develop their knowledge and critically their strategic thinking to enable them to be more efficient and also to develop their management skills at a very high level. So to make them fitting to be senior managers in the ports in the future.
A few participants shared their experiences.
The port has evolved, all around the world. And so taking this course will give us the opportunity to learn more about what the new trends are. So we can help build up the port to where we want it to be.
We've always thought that the port is for operations and they are the ones to know more when it comes to UNCTAD. But I believe as an engineer, there's a lot to know so that I can relate more and much better with how operations go as far as the port operations is concerned.
The UNCTAD Trainfortrade program, with its focus on digital innovation, policy development, and knowledge networks, continues to strengthen the competencies of port professionals worldwide.
We have some international port and maritime news next.
The head of the world's biggest ocean carrier, Soren Toft, has warned that proposed US fees on Chinese-built ships and the companies that own them could raise container rates by 25% if imposed. According to him, if the fees come out in the present form, it's going to have significant consequences, which will compel the shipping line to either revise its network and withdraw coverage or add the cost on top. Speaking at a shipping and supply chain conference hosted by CNP Global, Soren Toft said ultimately the consumer will have to pay. Following on a Biden administration investigation, the Trump administration in late February kicked off a potential escalating scale of fines for using China's commercial ships. The Office of the U.S. Trade Representative plan is aimed at curbing China's dominance in the maritime industry and would also mandate that a portion of U.S. products be moved on American vessels. Carriers typically call at multiple ports as they unload cargo in the U.S. If they are charged a $1 million fee for each stop, Toft said they are likely to redesign routes to make fewer stops, cutting out smaller ports. Toft cited a World Shipping Council assessment of the U.S. Trade Representative proposal and estimated the total industry impact is likely to be more than $20 billion, potentially translating to an extra $600 to $800 per container. U.S. President Donald Trump has hailed a deal led by U.S. firm BlackRock to buy most of the $22.8 billion ports business of Hong Kong conglomerate CK Hutchison, which includes assets along the Panama Canal. The deal will give the U.S. consortium control of key Panama Canal ports amid White House calls to remove them from what it claims is Chinese ownership. On the first trading day after the deal's announcement, CK Hutchison stock soared nearly 25%. The conglomerate said, in total, the consortium, which includes Terminal Investment and Global Infrastructure Partners, will control 43 ports, comprising 199 berths in 23 countries.
It's time for the phrase of the day.
In the outer harbour, the turning circle allows vessels to stop and maneuver while waiting for tug assistance to berth. It has a diameter equal to 2 or 4 times the length of the largest vessel.
Up next is the health and safety tip segment.
Handling of dangerous goods. Adequate controls over the entry, presence, and consequential handling of all types of dangerous goods should be in place for the safety of port workers.
We have your comments next.
Francis K. Boatin says, hello Iron Port. Women are clearly excelling in maritime. Now, companies must step up better conditions, equal pay and leadership roles. #accelerate action. Letitia Mensah says, I love how this conversation is highlighting real solutions. More scholarships, mentorship, and funding for women in maritime. No excuses. Kwesi Mensah says, Western Ghana is doing great work, but we need more partnership with shipping companies to push women into leadership roles. Dinah Adai says, networking is everything. If Western Ghana can connect more young professionals to global opportunities, we will see a real shift in gender inclusion.
Now, schedules of vessels in the port, those at Takoradi and those expected in the coming week, plus the Bank of Ghana exchange rate you need to know to clear your goods from the ports next. That's all for this week's episode of Eye on Port. Thank you for watching and thanks to the entire crew. Join us same time next week and also follow us on our various social media platforms on your screens.